Hey guys, it's Madison Estes. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over my most anticipated horror films for 2024. Now there are a lot of horror films coming out this year, and I'm not going to be going over each one because there's quite a few films coming out this year that I already kind of have either low expectations or mixed feelings about, so I'm not even going to get into those. I'm just going to be talking about the ones that I'm really excited about for one reason or another. So starting off this list is Stream. Stream has a January 19th release date, so we won't have to wait long for this one. This was a small indie film that was crowdfunded. I think they raised $180,000 to make this film, but you wouldn't guess that based on the trailer. Based on the trailer, it looks like a very expensive film. So the story is about a couple, Roy and Elaine, who decide that their family is drifting apart, so they decide that a stay in a quaint little hotel is exactly what they need to bring them all together again. There are 4 deranged murderers prowling the halls, and Roy is going to have to fight for his life and for his family. Now that's what the synopsis says, but based on the trailer, I get the sense that this is going to have some kind of game-like element to it, because there was this guy that sounded like a game announcer in the trailer, and then whenever I looked up the characters on Wikipedia, one of them is called Player 2, so I definitely get the sense there's going to be some kind of Squid Games kind of thing going on, or Would You Rather, something along those lines. This movie also has a fantastic cast with Jeffrey Combs, Danielle Harris, Dee Wallace, Tony Todd, and David Howard Thornton, who plays Art from the Terrifier films. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm not going in with super high expectations, but I think that the premise sounds cool and I like the cast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they were able to do with this budget. Next up, with a March 8th release date, is A Quiet Place Day 1. So as the title suggests, this is a prequel to the first 2 films in the series. This takes place on the day that the aliens land and begin taking over the Earth. This movie is not going to revolve around the family from the first 2 films. Instead, we're going to get new characters, and starring in this film is Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things and Alex Wolff from Hereditary. So I'm mostly excited because I love the first 2 films in this franchise, and I think that there's a lot of different storylines that they could explore with this particular world and this premise. I am kind of sad the family's not going to be back, but I understand that since this is a prequel, this gives us a chance to explore new characters and new scenarios, and we kind of know what happened to the family in the first one, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a glimpse of maybe the family, even though they say they're not coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of glimpse, or if they bring them in at the end of this film. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I'm just spreading a rumor. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I think that would be really cool if they decided to do that, if they decided to connect them in some way. But yeah, I'm just excited to see this world expanded, and I hope that they continue expanding this universe because I think that it's really cool. Next up is Mickey's Mousetrap. Okay, I know you guys are thinking, this is supposed to be the good horror films. No, I didn't say this was the good horror films. This was my most anticipated, and I'm really looking forward to this. I know it's going to be terrible. I promise this is the only film that I put on this list that I know is probably going to be bad. But I'm still looking forward to it because, I mean, it's the corruption of Mickey Mouse. This is going to be so fun. I'm so looking forward to this, and also lots of other Mickey horror movies or games or whatever. I'm really, really into this. The synopsis is simple. It says, a sadistic mouse will hunt unsuspecting ferry passengers. It doesn't say why. I don't know if there's going to be a reason. I really hope there is, and I hope that it's something ridiculous. Based on the trailer, I don't know if this is going to be campy good or campy bad, but it's my hope that this is going to be fun in the way that I thought Five Nights at Freddy's was going to be fun. So hopefully this will satisfy my urge for some campy fun horror. Next up is The First Omen, coming out April 5th. This movie is about a young American woman that goes to Rome in order to become a nun and dedicate her life to the church. When she gets there, she begins to uncover a dark conspiracy to bring about the birth of the Antichrist. So it looks like we got a little bit of the Omen going on. We also clearly have the influence of Rosemary's Baby. I'm excited. I think that this sounds really cool, and I really like the idea of trying to explore Damien and where he came from and why this group of people want to bring about the Antichrist. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to say about this film other than the fact that I really like the trailer and how it doesn't reveal too much. I'm so used to trailers giving away half the plot, and I watched the trailer to this film and I have absolutely no idea what's going on other than the fact that it looks really cool. Like, the vibes are on point. Next up is Return to Silent Hill, which currently has an April 26th release date. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't love the title. I think that there's a lot of different things that they could have settled on before they got to Return to Silent Hill, which sounds like the most generic and boring title ever. It definitely sounds like it was written by someone that's never played a single game or seen a single Silent Hill movie. But anyways, it's gonna be an adaptation of Silent Hill 2, and I'm excited about it for that reason, and also because I've loved all of the other Silent Hill films. I say as if there's been so many. There's been 2 that I know of. Anyways, and I liked them both, and I'm excited for this installment. The synopsis goes, James Sunderland returns to the town in search of his lost love after receiving a mysterious letter. So the synopsis sounds pretty close to the video game, and I'm curious if they're going to stick to the storyline really closely, and also which ending they're going to go with, because I'm pretty sure that most of the Silent Hill games had multiple endings. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this, and like I said, I loved the first 2, so I'm really looking forward to this installment. Next up is The Strangers Chapter 1, coming out May 25th. Now this is supposed to be a trilogy, and I don't know if all of the films are going to be coming out this year. Since the first one isn't coming out until May, I think that it's pretty unlikely we're going to get all 3 installments this year. So I'm just going to be talking about the one installment that we know about. So the synopsis is, a young couple travels across the country to begin their life together in the Pacific Northwest. Along the way, their car breaks down and they have to spend the night in an isolated Airbnb in Oregon. Throughout the night, they are terrorized by 3 masked strangers. So I think it's probably safe to say that the 3 people that are terrorizing this couple are probably the 3 people that are in the other Strangers films, and that's probably how these films are going to connect. And I think it's probably also safe to say that this is a prequel. I think it would be interesting in this installment, because it is a prequel, to maybe get a little bit of backstory with the Strangers, especially since this is going to be a trilogy format. I don't know if this is just trying to take advantage of the Halloween trilogy and how successful that was, and I heard there's going to be an Exorcist trilogy, so I think trilogies are going to be all the rage for a while. I don't know if The Strangers actually has like a plan for why this is 3 installments, if they have like a overarching storyline that's going to connect these 3, and maybe we're going to get some backstory with the Strangers, or if it's just going to be the same formula 3 times and they're just doing it in a set of 3 because that's popular right now. I don't know. I'm also not 100% sure what I'm rooting for, because although I like the idea of there being some kind of grand plan that they're building towards and getting a little bit of backstory here and there, I don't think I want everything explained, because that is a huge part of what makes these films so scary. So hopefully if there is some kind of larger storyline, they'll give us some answers without answering too much. Coming out in August is Alien Romulus. There's not a whole lot of plot details that are known at this time, but it is clear that this is not going to be a continuation of any current storyline in the series. See, I'm just excited because I love the Alien series. I don't love all of the installments, but I think even the ones that aren't that great are still pretty entertaining. And it's kind of like we're getting a soft reboot, because no matter where this movie takes place in the timeline, we're going to have new characters and we're going to have a new storyline, so I'm excited. Next up is Beetlejuice 2, coming out September 6th. So this is another one where there haven't been a lot of plot details released yet, but it is known that Michael Keaton will be coming back as Beetlejuice, and Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara will also be returning. And joining the cast is Jenna Ortega and William Dafoe, and I'm really excited to see what they can bring to this movie. I loved the first Beetlejuice movie. I probably saw it whenever I was like 5 years old, so it was a little bit scary. I say it like now like it was nothing. It was terrifying. When I was a kid, that movie terrified me, but I loved it too because I loved Winona Ryder's character and I thought it was so visually stunning, and it also was a horror movie that had some heart to it too. So I loved it, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. It'll be really hard to compete with the first one because, it's had 30 years for people to love this film and make it, so memorable and iconic with memes and, parodies and things like that. It's definitely a part of our culture now. So it's really tough to do a sequel to a film like that, but I am hopeful that they'll be able to pull off something that's really entertaining and hopefully visually stunning. Even if it's not as good as the original, I'm hopeful that it's still going to be pretty good. Then we have Saw 11 coming out September 27th. There have been so many rumors about this movie, including some very untrue rumors about Tobin Bell not returning because he's getting too old and wants to retire from acting. I don't think he has ever said anything along those lines. There's also been some rumors that this film is going to revolve around John and his other accomplice, the one that wasn't featured so heavily in Saw 10. I'm trying to be vague because there are people on this channel that have never seen a single Saw film. I don't want to spoil it. But we don't know. Honestly, we don't know what the plot's going to be about. We don't know anything about this movie other than the fact that it is going to be a direct sequel to Saw X. Will it feature Cecilia? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about them bringing her back because I definitely feel like she needs to come back so we can have some closure, but I don't want the whole movie to revolve around her. I know that rumor's been going around about how she's going to be the main character and she's going to have to go through a game, and I don't know about you, but I feel like I got enough Cecilia in the last movie. Like, I know exactly what kind of person she is. She's not a kind of person that can be changed, which I think would make her a little bit different from some of the other test subjects we've had, but I also think that that's, you know, a staple of good writing, is to mostly focus on characters that are capable of change and that change at some point in the film. I'm not interested in seeing her be a main test subject, so I really hope that they don't go that route, because I know that it would be very off-putting for me as a fan to have to watch this character be the main character. Yeah, it's just a stupid rumor, so it probably won't be that way. But like I said, we don't really know anything about Saw 11, so all we can do right now is speculate. And now for the last film that has a release date. There's a few more films I'm going to talk about after this, but this is the last one I'm going to talk about that has a specific release date set. And that is Terrifier 3, which is set to release October 25th. The only thing we know about this film so far is that Art the Terrifying Clown is going to be back, and so will Sienna from the second film. So I'm not like a super big fan of this series, but I did like the last one, and what has me intrigued about this film is that I heard a little rumor that the guy that made this film, that apparently self-financed it, was offered assistance from some studios that wanted to pick it up, but he rejected them because he wanted to make this film the way he wanted to make it, which is ballsy. It's ballsy to turn down film and assistance from a studio so that you can make a film the way you want to make it. So that has me really intrigued. Granted, that might just be a rumor that the filmmakers made to get people interested, but gosh darn it, it worked. That, and it is going to be a Christmas horror movie, and I love Christmas horror movies. I don't think that there are enough good ones. You know, I love Violent Night, I like Black Christmas. I could probably think of a few others. Better Watch Out, I like that one a lot too. But there's so many bad ones, so I'm really hopeful that this is good. I think it's going to be scary. I know it'll be gory, but I think that it's going to be scary, and I just don't think there's enough scary Christmas movies, so really looking forward to this one. Now onto the horror films that are still set to release in 2024, but they don't have a release date yet. The first one I want to talk about is called The One, that's going to have Melissa Barrera and Nicholas Hoult. So this movie is about a woman that makes a last-ditch attempt at love by becoming a contestant on a reality dating show. Now just down to herself and two other women competing for the object of their desire, the artifice of the show begins to fade, and the game becomes terrifyingly real. So that's the synopsis, and honestly, now that I've read all that, I have to wonder, why has it taken so long for reality dating shows to become the subject of a horror film? I mean, these dating shows have been on the air for, what, at least 20 years, maybe 25, so I'm just really curious why it's taken so long for, you know, there to be a horror take on it. But I'm excited that it's coming out now. I'm excited to see it. If they manage to make it look like it really is an episode of The Bachelor turning into a horror film, I think that would be fantastic. I think that they're probably going to approach this with a slasher angle, and I think it's going to be great. Next up is Thread and Insidious Tail. So I was not a fan of the last Insidious film at all. It felt like the most unnecessary installment ever, but this looks like it's going to be an unrelated movie, just kind of within the Insidious world, but not related to any of the characters that we've met so far. This movie is going to be starring Mandy Moore and Kumail Nanjiani. I don't really know what else to say about this film other than I hope that it was better than the last Insidious film. I don't sound super excited about it. I just wanted to mention it because I do love all the Insidious films other than the last one, and I am going to go into this with an open mind. This is definitely one I plan on checking out this year. Out of all the movies I've mentioned so far, including the Mickey Mouse film, this is the one I'm most on the fence about, because I feel like the Mickey Mouse film, if it sucks, then whatever. I didn't really have high expectations anyways, but this one, it's like I still really love this series as a whole, so I hope that it's pretty good. Next up is Maxine. This is the third installment in a series by Ty West, which began with the film X. The synopsis for this film is, after surviving a massacre, Maxine travels to Los Angeles in the 1980s in order to pursue her dream of becoming a famous actress. The second film in this series, Pearl, is very similar plot-wise. It's also about a young woman that is trying to become a famous actress, so I'm really interested to see what kind of parallels are going to be drawn between Pearl and Maxine, and I'm also really interested to be picking up where we left off after the film X. I remember after X came out and they were talking about releasing Pearl, I was not super enthusiastic. I was like, no, I want to see what happens with Maxine. I was like, I want to know her story. I want to see where she goes next. So it's been quite a wait, but we're finally getting that and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up is Adrift. This story is described as a supernatural ghost story set aboard a ship. Now, if you watch this channel regularly, you know that I love any kind of horror story that takes place on a ship, as long as the movie is somewhat entertaining. I wasn't a huge fan of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I was really looking forward to that film because I love horror movies set in the ocean. You know, Ghost Ship is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I'm also a really big fan of Triangle. So I'm always just like hoping that any film that takes place, you know, in the ocean or on a ship is going to be similar to one of those films in some way, or, you know, have its own thing that makes it interesting. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of Last Voyage of the Demeter. So maybe this film, maybe this is the horror film set in the sea film that I've been waiting for. This movie will be starring Jared Leto and will be directed by Darren Aronofsky, and if you're wondering where you've heard their names together before, they collaborated on Requiem for a Dream. Also, this movie is going to be an adaptation of a work by Koji Suzuki. I don't know what that work is, and I honestly don't want to read it. I don't want to know anything about it. I want to go into this movie blind and just hope that, you know, because I've heard all of these names before, and because this is a horror movie set in the ocean, that I might enjoy it. Last but not least is Dust Bunny. This movie is about a young girl that elicits help from her neighbor to help kill the monster under her bed after she thinks that it ate her family. This movie is written and directed by Brian Fuller, and it stars Mads Mikkelsen, so that's really cool because they collaborated on Hannibal, and I'm a huge fan of Hannibal. And Sigourney Weaver is also going to be in this, so I really like that lineup. I think that it has a lot of promise, and I think that the premise is slightly whimsical, but it could also go into the direction of being truly terrifying, so I'm really looking forward to this film and seeing how it turned out. So that is it. That is my list of my most anticipated horror films for 2024. Let me know what you're looking forward to seeing this year. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe. On this channel, I post reviews, writing advice, horror commentary, and vlogs. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.